by the minority leader, and further subject to the indulgence of Mr. President, further add that our diplomatic cornerstone is supposed to be citizen-driven diplomacy, as earlier espoused by our late Foreign Minister Ojo Maduke of blessed memory. Nigerians, wherever they should be, the centerpiece of our diplomatic relation should be citizen-centered, because even our constitution, which is the grand norm of the land, gives place of prominence, gives primacy to the protection of lives and property. And that is the essence of government. Any government that fails and or neglects to perform that primary duty of protecting, jealously guarding and protecting the lives and interests of its citizens, that government should not last a minute longer than absolutely necessary, because that is of the primacy of governance. So against this background, this motion is up and germane, and is also in consonance with the provisions of our constitution, and all hands must be on deck by all arms of government, the executive and the legislature in particular, that this ugly scenario should be investigated, and then the interests of our citizens, wherever they may be in the globe, should be jealously guarded and protected. And I urge my colleagues to support this motion without much ado. Thank you.
Distinguished Senator Zhang. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I am Senator Dr. Titus Zhang. I represent the good people of Benue Northwest Senatorial District. Distinguished colleagues, I don't think there is so much to debate on this motion. It touches on the fundamental rights of Nigerians, both at home and in diaspora. Though we are not properly educated about the nature of the alleged offenses or crimes committed by Nigerians who are on the death list in Ethiopia. But I think humanity requires of us to seek to protect any Nigerian wherever they are. Therefore, I rise to support the motion that urgent steps be taken in liaison with the Ethiopian embassy in Nigeria to find ways of resolving this matter without sacrificing any single Nigerian, in spite of whatever is the situation out there. And that is my submission on this motion. Thank you, Mr. President.
Yes, thank you. The primary duty of government is to promote the welfare of citizens and protect lives and properties. So actually, I think the motion is in sync with the reason why our people gave us our mandate to be here. But I would have loved to ask the minority leader, the mover of the motion, the source of your information, whether it is social media or whether it is a cry from a victim. Because if it is social media, yes, we can call for investigation, but you also have to know that social media is garbage in, garbage out. Senator Ningi, you have anything to say?
Thank you very much, Mr. President. My name is Senator Abdul Ningi, and I represent Bauchi Central of Bauchi State. Mr. President, I came about this particular video precisely about 17 days ago. And when I saw it, was so disturbing. And I had the cause to share this video in some of our Senate platforms. And the reason why I did what I did in sharing is to look at the comments after sharing the video of Nigerians about what is happening to Nigerians outside Nigeria, regardless of the crime committed. I think looking at Nigeria, the cornerstone of our foreign policy is Africa. The nexus of our foreign policy is Africa, which means wherever an African is affected, Nigeria should have a voice. Talk less of when Nigerians are actually the ones that are the recipient. However, it is imperative to look at this motion from two sides of the coins. I look at the body of the motion, and I think there are some of the aspects that we shouldn't have put in the motion, particularly some things like they did not commit any crime, they have committed no crime, and they have no conviction in this regard. I think we should be very careful about sentencing or confirmation of a crime that is not there, or a crime that has not happened. But the press have actually captured the essence of this motion. Investigate, and then let's have the facts on the ground. It is important to say we must make sure that Nigerians are not, do not suffer undue consequences. But it is equally important, Mr. President, to warn Nigerians not to commit any crime. Even here, talk less of outside, because they are not going to be covered. There will be no leniency when you commit a huge crime. When you go through the comments in the social media, what happened, what I have seen, the narrative is that this crime has to be associated with drugs. And that is very, very serious. Therefore, committing this thing to investigation is the only way out. And I think the Senate should be commended by looking at this thing and not sweeping it under the carpet. If you go by the comments of Nigerians and other Nigerians about this matter, people are trying to sweep it under the carpet. But we must investigate it, and we must make sure the Ethiopian authority do not take us for a ride. If it happened that these Nigerians have not committed any crime, then there is a diplomatic solution to it. Considering that Ethiopia is an African country, we must be able to balance the delicate balance in this particular thing. And I support this motion. These prayers are apt, and we must be able to get a reply after the investigation. Thank you, Mr. President.
So, Doctor, you want to say a word, because it's very straightforward.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, my name is Dr. Samaila Dohuakaila, and I represent Bauchi North. I rise to support the motion, and in supporting the motion, I want to add just one or two words from my experience. When I was working with the National Intelligence Agency before I retire, I remember in 2008, I was among the people that went to Thailand to secure the release of Nigerians. And to my surprise, when I went to the prison in Bangkok, there are more than 1,500 Nigerians. And I remember then, I think it was during Obasanjo's time, he secured that we should get anybody that spent more than 15 years in the prison to be released. And we were able to get about, I remember it was Cabo Air that time, we brought back home 2 full load of 747 from Thai prison. And those are the people that spend 15 years and above. That was in 2008. I'm sure at that time we left more than 1,000 in that prison. I was also involved when we went to Tripoli, I remember during the day, to remove Nigerians from prison. That time in Benghazi and Tripoli, we have more than 5,000 Nigerians. What I'm trying to say is, let us not look at this issue of Ethiopia in isolation. There are more than the number of Nigerians in various prisons in especially Southeast Asia and the Middle East is staggering. And I think the number is clear. The authorities are aware of it. All we need to do is to get the relevant authorities to furnish us with the information so that we'll use our positions to secure their release under certain terms. And that is why I want to call, to add to the motion that this should be given to also National Security and Intelligence Committee, because I believe the NIA has been handling this thing for years. Thank you, Mr. President.
So in that case, we go straight into the prayers. Prayer 1, urge the committees on diaspora and foreign affairs, in conjunction with the federal government of Nigeria, to immediately constitute a committee to visit the Republic of Ethiopia with a view to investigating what is happening to Nigerians in Ethiopia. Those in support of this prayer say aye. Aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Prayer 2, call on the federal government of Nigeria to immediately direct the Ethiopian embassy to collaborate with the delegation of the committees on diaspora and foreign affairs to find a lasting solution to problems being faced or encountered by Nigerians in Ethiopia. Any amendment to this prayer? Those in support? Amendment? Amendment to the prayer? Senator Oshimole?
Yes, Mr. President. I think there are, with due respect, Mr. President and my distinguished colleagues, it appears that prayer 2 contradicts to some extent prayer 1. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs has only one business. I do not think we should talk about foreign affairs and the Committee on Diaspora. Everything is other foreign affairs. In an ideal situation, the diaspora should be a desk. It doesn't have the diplomatic weight of a foreign affairs minister. Number 2, I don't think it's about asking the Ethiopia embassy to collaborate with the delegation, because if people are going to Ethiopia to investigate a matter, my view is we can get the Foreign Affairs Ministry to tell us the facts as they know it. And in the line in which Senator Ningi spoke, investigation first before conclusion. I'm not sure how appropriate for our people to facilitate a trip to Ethiopia to investigate there. We can do the investigation here, and depending on the conclusion, what the investigation leads us to, we can then decide whether it is the committee of the Senate or it is the Foreign Affairs Ministry who should be asked to do their job and protect the interests of Nigerians wherever they are, including Ethiopia. Last.
No, we wanted you to propose amendments the way it is couched, but but I've taken cognizance of what you said, which is actually a submission on the main motion itself. So so in that case, unless you have an amendment, I would like Senator Tambuwa to propose an amendment to the prayer. Okay, thank you. Senator Tambuwa.
And prayer 1, to read, urge the committee, direct the committees on diaspora and foreign affairs in conjunction with the federal Ministry of Foreign Affairs to investigate what is happening to Nigerians in diaspora and report back to the Senate within 2 weeks.
Sorry, Secretariat, did you get that? Did you capture what he just said? Okay, so please let them give you plain sheet so that you can jot down what you have just said. No, but continue.
Well, if that prayer is carried, sir, there won't be any need for prayer 2. That captures the gamut of the two, and then I believe we will get the result that we require from that investigation.
Senator Sani Musa, he has moved a motion that we amend prayer 1 and by implication prayer 2 will have been taken care of. Are you seconding the motion?
I'm Mohammed Sani Musa, Niger East Senatorial District. Mr. President, I stand to support the amendment as presented by Senator Tambua, as proposed by Senator Tambua. And the amendment, according to him, the second prayer should be expunged. I so second.
Distinguished colleagues, Senator Tambua has proposed an amendment which embodies investigation by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and relevant agencies of government, and then, of course, to know the authenticity of the allegations in the social media, and thereafter report to this House within 2 weeks. This amendment has captured the totality of the intent of this motion, and therefore it has also been seconded by Senator Sani Musa. Those who are in support of this single prayer as amended say aye. Those who are against say nay. The ayes have it. Let me thank distinguished Senator Macron and the minority leader for bringing this to the attention of the Nigerian public through the Nigerian Senate, and to say that the life of every Nigerian matters a lot, and also use this opportunity to urge the relevant authorities of the federal government of Nigeria to take the lives of Nigerians very seriously, both in Nigeria and in the diaspora. I am aware that many Nigerians are suffering discrimination in places like South Africa and in places like Seychelles. Some of the countries have even stopped receiving the green passport, and saying that it cannot be used green passport to enter their countries, and some of those countries are not even up to the size of Enugu State. So I think it's important that while looking at this issue, we should also take steps to re-establish the authority of Nigeria, the largest black country in the world. Thank you for bringing this, and we hereby give 2 weeks to the Committee on Foreign Affairs to conclude and revert to these hallowed chambers. Yes, point of order, Senator Suko.
My name is Asuko Ekpeyo, Senator representing Cross River South. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I come under Order 41 and 51, matter of urgent public importance. The matter for discussion shall, if possible, be referred to the President of the Senate before commencement of the day's sitting, and the President of the Senate shall refuse to allow the claims unless he is satisfied that the matter is definite and urgent. Order 51. Notice shall not be dispensed with in this case of a motion or in respect of any other proceeding for which notice is required, except with the consent of the President of the Senate and the general assent of the senators present. Mr. President, this is a motion of urgent public importance with regards to the persistent denial of treatment and care to victims of gunshot wounds and other emergencies This is in connection with Miss Greatness Olurunfemi, who was attacked and pushed out of a fast-moving vehicle last week and was denied treatment at Maitama District Hospital. Mr. President, I pray that you allow us present this motion of urgent public importance and the senators here present. Yes.
Yes, distinguished Senator Ekpeyon, you know this motion came up yesterday, and it was referred to the next legislative date, but I haven't seen it on the other paper. So since it has already been referred, I think the necessary thing is to get in touch with the Secretariat to make sure it is reflected in our next proceedings. Yes, Senator Osizangu.
Good morning, Mr. President. I come under Order 41 and 51, matter of urgent public importance. Order 41, the matter for discussion shall, if possible, be referred to the President of the Senate before commencement of the day sitting, and the President of the Senate shall refuse to allow the claim unless he is satisfied that the matter is definite and urgent. Order 51, notice shall not be dispensed with in the case of a motion or in respect of any other proceeding for which notice is required, except with the consent of the President of the Senate and the general assent of the senators present. Mr. President, this motion is a motion of a matter of urgent public importance about a collapsed flyover bridge on the highway of Enugu to Port Harcourt Expressway. This is the road that conveys major people from parts of Ebonyi, even part of the north, and Enugu to Port Harcourt Expressway, which tragically collapsed. Fortunately, no life was lost. But as it is today, the road is...
You have not, you read Order 51, and he said that notice shall not be dispensed with, except with the consent of the hallowed chamber. Are you seeking the consent of the hallowed chamber and that of the Senate President, or are you moving your motion?
Distinguished Senate President to go ahead and present the motion.
Distinguished colleagues, Senator Osizangu is on a point of order. He's on a point of order. He's on a point of order. He's on a point of order. So we'll be going for our retreat. What date is the retreat? What date is the retreat? 18 to 22nd. 18 to 21st. So I just want to remind us that we have a retreat coming up. Yes, let's dispense with your distinguished colleagues. Senator Osizangu is seeking your consent to move a motion of urgent importance in respect of a collapsed bridge which has impeded economic activities in the southeast region. Are you in support? Those who are in support of him going ahead with the urgent motion say aye. Those who are against say nay. The ayes have it. Senator Osizangu, you may now proceed.
Thank you, the Senate President. This motion is sponsored by me and co-sponsored by Senator Victor May, Senator Kelvin Chukwu, and Senator Okechukwu Ezie. Notes, Monday, 25th September 2023, a major flyover bridge on the Enugu part of the Enugu-Port Harcourt Expressway tragically collapsed, but thankfully without human casualty. Also note that the bridge, which is a major link along the Enugu-Port Harcourt Expressway, for commuters from Port Harcourt, Abao, Mahia, and Abakaliki also provide access to vehicular traffic from Onitsha to Enugu Expressway. Saddened that the current road infrastructure maintenance model is not proactive, as early signs of the collapse will have been detected for immediate repairs before the eventual tragic collapse. Aware that the temporary diversion of vehicular traffic into the city center will only go to worsen the already precarious traffic situation in the city. Also worried that the collapse of this important flyover bridge has become a nightmare to road users and a threat to the socio-economic life of the people. I am concerned that any delay in the rehabilitation of this critical public infrastructure may worsen the already precarious socio-economic challenges of not just Enugu State, but the entire Southeast Zone. Accordingly, resolves as follows. The urge the federal government through the Ministry of Works to embark on the immediate reconstruction of the collapsed bridge at the Enugu end of the Enugu-Port Harcourt Expressway. Further urge the federal government to provide urgent intervention fund to the Ministry of Works for the rehabilitation of this bridge and maintenance of all other critical road infrastructure in the country, given that the construction window, which is the dry season, is just by the corner. I so move, Mr. President. Thank you.
Any seconder? Yes, distinguished senator.
Good morning, Mr. President and distinguished colleagues. My name is Senator Kelvin Chukwu, representing the good people of Enugu East Senatorial Zone. I stood up here to second the motion ably moved by Senator Ostambu. I so moved.
Yes, sir, distinguished senator, sir.
Ezia Okechukwu, representing the people of Enugu North Senatorial Zone. The motion ably moved by my colleague here on the collapsed bridge at Enugu is a strategic infrastructure serving not only the Southeast and South-South, but the entire Federal Republic of Nigeria. I want to say, for those who don't know the location, this bridge traverses the Enugu-Port Harcourt Express Way. And so, all the petroleum products coming from Port Harcourt, all the fertilizer coming from Port Harcourt to the northern part of the country will not move without this bridge being fixed. It is also important to know that all the food, major food we eat in the Southeast and South-South pass through this bridge. And so economic activities are seriously affected by the collapse of this bridge. And I therefore urge my colleagues here to support this motion so that the federal government will move in as a matter of urgency to fix this bridge and in the process also fix the entire Enugu-Port Harcourt Express Road. Thank you, Mr. President.
Distinguished Senator Solomon Olamileko.
Thank you, Mr. President. Very distinguished colleague, Adeola Solomon Olamileko. I represent Ogun West Senatorial District in the Senate of the Federal Republic. Mr. President, very distinguished colleague, let me sympathize and commend the mover of this motion on the collapsed bridge that takes care of Enugu-Port Harcourt corridor. Mr. President, if you will recollect that in this Senate, a lot of motion has come before us that borders on roads, infrastructures, bridges, and so on and so forth. This is another major infrastructural challenges in this corridor. And Mr. President, my own suggestion would be that all these roads and bridges which we are bringing to the table, we don't know the extent in which the executives are aware, because the preparation for 2024 appropriation bill is underway. And if projects like these, as sensitive as these, are not captured, at the end of the day, we will only come here, move this motion, and nothing will be done. So my own candid suggestion is that all these roads and bridges that distinguished senators have brought before us, before this Senate, should be put into a compendium, that we have the list, so that when the executive appear before us, especially the Minister for Works and Infrastructure, we can now compare notes. If all these roads, bridges, collapse and everything have been captured in the budget, and if not, we can go into a discussion with them and tell them how critical these roads and bridges are to the senatorial district or the corridor in which that is affected. Mr. President, distinguished colleague, if, okay, what's the guy? That, yes, if, like Dr. Yaya's committee, what they are currently doing, if this is not captured in it, then we will not be helping ourselves here. Because if they should raise such an important motion, a collapse of bridges that takes care of all product coming from Port Harcourt to Enugu and beyond as collapse, then we don't come here and just give this motion and it will be in vain. So I want to suggest that they should be referred to Dr. Yaya's committee so that this can be part of the compendium we are trying to build, so that by the time the Appropriation Act lands, a bill lands in the Senate, we can compare notes and ensure that all these bridges and roads are adequately captured in the budget before it's eventually passed into law by the Senate. I so submit.
Thank you, distinguished Senator Sitangu, and all those who have made contributions. I think this is a very straightforward motion. And the last submission of Senator Olamileko actually puts a seal to it. So we go into the prayers. Urge the federal government through the Ministry of Works, urge the federal government through the Ministry of Works to embark on the immediate reconstruction of the collapsed bridge at the Enugu end of the Enugu-Port Harcourt Expressway. Those in support of this prayer say aye. Those against say nay. Senator Babangida, you want to amend the prayer?
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm Senator Babangida Hussaini. I want to amend the prayer to align with the provision of our standing orders 2022 as amended. If we look at item number 25 on the formation and functions of committees, the Committee on FEMA is charged with the responsibility of maintaining roads and bridges. So I think the prayer should read, urge the federal government through the Federal Emergency Road Maintenance Agency to embark on immediate reconstruction of the collapsed bridge at the Enugu end of the Port Harcourt Expressway. It is the duty and responsibility of FEMA is encapsulated in our standing order book 2022 as amended. Thank you, sir.
Any seconder to the Amendment. Yes, distinguished Senator Zango Daura.
Thank you, Mr. President. Honorable colleagues, I am Nasir Hussain Zangondora. I represent Katsina North Federal Senatorial District, Katsina State. I rise to second the amendment of the motion as moved by Senator Babangida. I so second. Thank you.
Distinguished colleagues, an amendment has been suggested by distinguished Senator Babangida that prayer 1 should read that we should urge the Federal Emergency Road Maintenance Agency, FEMA, to immediately embark on a remedial measure on this collapsed bridge, and it has been seconded. Those who are in support of this prayer as amended say aye. Those who are against say nay. The ayes have it. Prayer 2, urge the federal government to provide urgent intervention fund. Those who are in support of prayer 2 say aye. Those who are against it say nay. Well, the ayes have it. Let me thank additional prayers, Senator Yaya.
Thank you, Mr. President. My additional prayer is that we urge the senators representing Enugu State to make a comprehensive submission or put this road as part of their submission to the Senate Committee on Collapsed Road Infrastructure at Erosion Sites, so that for inclusion into the compendium, that will be brought, before the Senate, and if approved, passed on to the Appropriation Committee during the appropriation for the 2024 budget. I submit.
Any seconder to the amendment, to the additional prayer? Yes, distinguished Senator Mustafa Saliu.
Your Excellency, Senate President, my name is Saliu Mustafa, representing Kwara Central. I rise to second the additional prayers by Senator Yahya that has ably moved, so I so second.
Distinguished colleagues, the motion by distinguished Senator Yahya, seconded by distinguished Senator Salim Mustafa, is to the fact that the distinguished senator representing the Enugu Urban Center, Enugu Central, should immediately add this road in writing to the and refer it to the committee that is handling the ad hoc committee that is handling the compilation of all collapsed infrastructure in Nigeria. Those who are in support of this additional prayer say aye. Those who are against say nay. The ayes have it. So let me thank distinguished Senator Ositangu for bringing this matter of urgent national importance. There is no need to go into any further discussion on the importance of that road to the economic lifeline of the entirety of both South, South, and Southeast and Nigeria in general. So I hope that once we communicate with the necessary authorities that remedial work will be done on this, whilst reconstruction should commence in the next budget session. Thank you for your contributions. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, the first business of the day is the presentation of a bill standing in the name of distinguished Senator Kalu Oji Uzo on the Compulsory Free Universal Basic Education Act, Amendment Bill 2023, SB 31. Mr. President, you may wish to invite the Clerk of Senate to read the short title of the bill.
Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, Compulsory Free Universal Basic Education Act, Amendment Bill 2023, XP 31, first reading.
Distinguished Senators, Compulsory Free Universal Basic Education Act Amendment Bill 2023, SB 31, first reading taken. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, very distinguished colleagues, the second business of the day is the presentation of a bill standing in the name of distinguished Senator Garba Musa on the Agricultural Research Council of Nigeria Act Amendment Bill 2023, SB 39. Mr. President, you may wish to invite the Clerk of Senate to read the short title of the bill.
Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, Agricultural Research Council of Nigeria Act, Amendment Bill 2023, SB 39, first reading.
Distinguished colleagues, Agricultural Research Council of Nigeria Act, Amendment Bill 2023, SB 39, first reading taken. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, the third business of the day is the presentation of a bill standing in the name of distinguished Senator Aliyu Wadada Ahmed on the Agricultural Research Council of Nigeria Act, Amendment Bill 2023, SB 56. Mr. President, you may wish to invite the Clerk of Senate to read the short title of the bill.
Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, Agricultural Research Council of Nigeria Act, Amendment Bill 2023, SB 56, first reading.
Distinguished colleagues, Agricultural Research Council of Nigeria Act, Amendment Bill 2023, SB 56, first reading taken. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, the sponsor of the next bill that would have constituted the fourth business of the day has requested that it be stepped down to the next legislative day. I therefore will move to the fifth business of the day, which is the presentation of a bill standing in the name of distinguished Senator Asukwo Ekpeyong on the Environmental Restoration Agency Bill 2023 SB 99. Mr. President, you may wish to invite the Clerk of Senate to read the short title of the bill.
Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, Environmental Restoration Agency Bill 2023 SB 99, first reading.
Distinguished colleagues, Environmental Restoration Agency Bill 2023, SB 99, first reading taken. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, the sixth business of the day is the presentation of a bill standing in the name of distinguished Senator Joel Onowakpo Thomas on the Agricultural Research Council of Nigeria Act, Amendment Bill 2023, SB 105. Mr. President, you may wish to invite the Clerk of Senate to read the short title of the bill.
Clerk of the Senate.
Distinguished senators, Agricultural Research Council of Nigeria Act, Amendment Bill 2023, SB 105, first reading.
Distinguished colleagues, Agricultural Research Council of Nigeria Act, Amendment Bill 2023 SB 105, first reading taken. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, the seventh business of the day is the presentation of a bill standing in the name of distinguished Senator Mohammed Bomar Ibrahim on the Internal Audit Agency Establishment Bill 2023 SB 115. Mr. President, you may wish to invite the Clerk of Senate to read the short title of the bill.
Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, Internal Audit Agency Establishment Bill 2023 SB 115, first reading.
Distinguished colleagues, Internal Audit Agency Establishment Bill 2023 SB 115, first reading taken. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, the eighth business of the day is the presentation of a bill standing in the name of distinguished Senator Jonah Williams Eteng on the Nuclear Safety, Security and Safeguard Bill 2023 SB 116. Mr. President, you may wish to invite the Clerk of Senate to read the short title of the bill.
Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, Nuclear Safety, Security and Safeguard Bill 2023 SB 116, first reading.
Distinguished colleagues, Nuclear Safety, Security and Safety Bill 2023 SB 116, first reading taken. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, the ninth business of the day is the presentation of a bill standing in the name of distinguished Senator Barao Jibril on the Federal Polytechnic Cabo Establishment Bill 2023 SB 125. Mr. President, you may wish to invite the Clerk of Senate to read the short title of the bill.
Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, Federal Polytechnic Cabo Establishment Bill 2023 SB 125, first reading.
Distinguished colleagues, Federal Polytechnic Cabo Establishment Bill 2023 SB 125, first reading taken. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, the 10th business of the day is the presentation of a bill standing in the name of distinguished Senator Barao Jibril on the Federal University of Education, BICHI, Establishment Bill 2023 SB 126. Mr. President, you may wish to invite the Clerk of Senate to read the short title of the bill.
Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, Federal University of Education, BICHI, Establishment Bill 2023 SB 126, first reading.
Distinguished colleagues, Federal University of Education, BICHI, Establishment Bill 2023 SB 126, First reading taken. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, the 11th business of the day is the presentation of a bill standing in the name of distinguished Senator Barao Jibril on the Federal College of Education, Jamare, Establishment Bill 2023, SB 127. Mr. President, you may wish to invite the Clerk of Senate to read the short title of the bill.
Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, Federal College of Education, Jamare, Establishment Bill 2023, SB 127, first reading.
Distinguished colleagues, Federal College of Education, Jamare, Establishment Bill 2023, SB 127, first reading taken. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, the 12th business of the day is the presentation of a bill standing in my name on the Investment and Security Bill 2023, SB 128. Mr. President, you may wish to invite the Clerk of Senate to read the short title of the bill.
Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, Investment and Security Bill 2023, SB 128, first reading.
Distinguished colleagues, Investment and Security Bill 2023, SB 128, first reading taken. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, the 13th business of the day is the presentation of a bill standing in the name of distinguished Senator Uba Patrick Ifeanyi on the Southeast Development Commission Establishment Bill 2023, SB 129. Mr. President, you may wish to invite the Clerk of Senate to read the short title of the bill.
Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, Southeast Development Commission Establishment Bill 2023, SB 129, first reading.
Distinguished colleagues, Southeast Development Commission Establishment Bill 2023, SB 129, first reading taken. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, the 14th business of the day is the presentation of a bill standing in my name on the retirement age of magistrates bill 2023, SB 130. Mr. President, you may wish to invite the Clerk of Senate to read the short title of the bill.
Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, Retirement Age of Magistrates Bill 2023, XB 130, first reading.
Distinguished colleagues, Retirement Age of Magistrates Bill 2023, SB 130, first reading taken. Leader of the Senate.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, the 15th business of the day is the presentation of a bill standing in the name of distinguished Senator Ndubueze Patrick Chiuva on the Public-Private Partnership Regulatory Commission Bill 2023, SB 131. Mr. President, you may wish to invite the Clerk of Senate to read the short title of the bill.
Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, Public-Private Partnership Regulatory Commission Bill 2023, SB 131, first reading.
Distinguished colleagues, Public-Private Partnership Regulatory Commission Bill 2023, SB 131, first reading taken. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, the 16th business of the day is the presentation of a bill standing in the name of distinguished Senator Eze Kenneth Emeka on the National Broadcasting Commission Act, Repeal and Enactment Bill 2023, SB 134. Mr. President, you may wish to invite the Clerk of Senate to read the short title of the bill.
Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, National Broadcasting Commission Act, Repeal and Enactment Bill 2023, SB 134, first reading.
Distinguished colleagues, National Broadcasting Commission Act, Repeal and Enactment Bill 2023, SB 134, first reading taken. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, very distinguished senators of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, the first order of the day is a motion requesting the Senate to consider the request of Mr. President and Commander-in-Chief for the confirmation of the nominations of the following persons for appointment as ministers of the government of the Federation in accordance with Section 147, subsection 2 of the 1999 Constitution as amended. 1. Dr. Jamila Bio Ibrahim from Kwara State. 2. Balarabe Abbas Lawal from Kaduna State. 3. Mr. Ayodele Olawande from Ondo State. Mr. President, distinguished senators, in order to carry out this exercise in conformity with our Standing Order 12 on floor privileges, I will move a motion that the Senate do admit the Special Advisor to the President on National Assembly matters, the nominees, as well as non-serving senators and non-serving members of House of Representatives, as well as serving members and other government officials present in that regard into the Senate chamber. Mr. President, I so move.
Minority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Senate President and dear colleagues. My name is Darlington Nwokocha. I speak for the Abia Central and the entire Nigeria. I rise to second the motion as heavily moved by the majority leader to admit all the individuals mentioned. I so second.
The motion has been moved and seconded, distinguished colleagues. Those who are in support of that motion say aye. Those who are against say nay. The ayes have it. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I stand to move for the Senate to resolve into the Committee of All to conduct the confirmation hearings. I so move, Mr. President.
Minority Leader.
I like to second the motion ably by the Senate Leader that the House resolve to the Committee of the House. I so second.
Distinguished colleagues, the Leader has moved a motion and seconded by the Minority Leader that this hallowed chamber do resolve in the Committee of the Whole to consider and then commence the business of ministerial screening. Those who are in support of the motion say aye, and those who are against say nay. The ayes have it. We now revert into the Committee of the Whole. Yes, Leader of the Senate. Distinguished colleagues, having moved that this hallowed chamber do accept the special assistant to Mr. President and accept strangers into the chambers for the purpose of screening of ministers. We have 3 ministerial nominees before us, so we welcome them, and we also welcome other dignitaries that accompany them to the hallowed chambers of the Nigerian Senate. So we have Dr. Jamila Bio Ibrahim from Kwara State. We have Balarebe Abbas Lawal from Kaduna State. And we have Mr. Ayodele Olawande from Ondo State. In no particular order, you just come up, introduce yourself, give us a brief biodata of yourself, and then answer a few questions from distinguished senators.
Your Excellency, the President of the Senate, Senator Godswill Obotakabio, CON, Your Excellency, the Deputy President of the Senate, Distinguished Senator Barao Jibrin, the Leader of the Senate, Distinguished Senator Michael Okoyemi Bamidele, other principal officers of the Senate, distinguished senators of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, most of whom were former members of the 4th session of the Federal House of Representatives from year 1999 to 2003 with my father, who is a former parliamentarian. Good afternoon. Permit me to respectfully recognize the 3 senators from my home state, Kwara State, Distinguished Senator Oyelola Yusa Ashiru, the Deputy Majority Leader of the Senate, Distinguished Senator Saliu Mustafa, the Turaki of Ilorin Emirate, and Distinguished Senator Sadiq Suleiman Umar, the Dang Amar of Kayama, who is playing 2 roles today. One as the senator representing my senatorial district, Kwara North Senatorial District, also as my uncle. Firstly, I want to give gratitude to God for giving me an opportunity to serve him through humanity. My profound respect and gratitude to Mr. President, His Excellency President Ahmed Bola Tinubu, GCFR, the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces, the Jagaba of our kingdom, Borgu, for considering me worthy of nomination as a Minister of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. I want to assure him and the Nigerian public that I will never underestimate this trust placed in me for this role. Permit me to also extend my gratitude and thanks to the Governor of Kwara State, His Excellency Malam Abdurrahman Abdulrazak, the Chairman of the Nigerian Governors Forum, the architect of modern-day Kwara State, who is unavoidably absent today. He was here yesterday, but the session could not hold. I thank him greatly for giving me a platform that has made me visible and eligible for being considered for a greater responsibility. Allow me to extend my special acknowledgement to my parents, because today marks a proud and historic moment for my family and my community. Through mentorship provided by my parents, I have gathered the wealth of wisdom, experience, and humility, as well as tapped into the wellspring of innovation and vitality inherent in the younger generation. Because I carry with me the essence of my roots, and whilst not forgetting where I come from, I believe that this experience will inform my decision and my work for the youth of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. I wish to extend my heartfelt appreciation because they say it takes a village to raise a child, particularly a girl child. I would like to extend my heartfelt appreciation to all the esteemed well-wishers who have graced this occasion with their presence. Your unwavering support has been instrumental in shaping my journey thus far, and I am deeply grateful for your significant contributions. From the depth of my heart, I wish to express my profound gratitude to the youth of Nigeria, the broader African continent, the international community, for the overwhelming support they have shown me since my nomination was announced. Distinguished senators, I come before this hallowed chamber today with the deepest sense of humility and an unwavering commitment to the prosperous future of our cherished nation, Nigeria. I come to you not merely as a qualified nominee, but as an individual who has devoted her life to the advancement of youth development. My journey has been driven by an unwavering belief in the potential of our youth, leading me to achieve several noteworthy milestones. Today, I have been given the chance of a lifetime to contribute my quota to nation building. In a government that has given unprecedented priority, not just to our country's youth, but has also given young women like myself a seat at the decision-making table. My name is Dr. Jamila Bio Ibrahim. I am from Gure Town, a rural Western Borgu community in Barotain local government area of Kwara State. I was born on February 7th, 1986. I believe that my education, my upbringing, and my career have prepared me for the task ahead. My reception and primary school education was at NEPA Senior Staff School in New Busa, Borgu local government area of Kwara State from 1991 to 1996, during which I earned my first school living certificate. From 1996 to 2002, I attended Federal Government Girls College Bari, Abuja, where I obtained my secondary school living certificate. I pursued my higher education at the University of Ilorin, where I studied medicine and surgery, and I graduated in year 2010 with a bachelor's degree in medicine and surgery. Following my academic pursuit, I fulfilled my mandatory one-year National Youth Service Corps requirement in 2011, and serving at the National Assembly Clinic during my youth service year afforded me firsthand the privilege to experience how committed and hardworking the senators and the members of the House of Representatives are towards nation building. It was my first point of contact with politics in a work environment, and that has inspired me greatly to dream. I am a member of the Nigerian Medical Association, the Medical and Dental Council of Nigeria, the West Africa Youth Assembly, WIRE, and the Progressive Young Women Forum, which I serve as the president. To further my studies in 2017, I obtained a certificate from the University of Washington in Health Management and Leadership. In year 2021, I also attended the Advanced Leadership Program of the Gotney Leadership Center. My professional odyssey commenced in the field of medicine, where I dedicated my formative years to the healing of the ill. Yet, as a young Nigerian medical doctor, disheartened by the ailing state of our healthcare system and the plight of healthcare workers as it concerns their welfare, I recognized that to make a meaningful impact, I needed a voice at the decision-making table, and that could influence millions of lives rather than confining myself to individual consultations between the four walls of a clinic. Consequently, I resolved to pursue a career in development, but faced with a choice between seeking greener pastures abroad, or Jakpa, as we call it, or remaining in my beloved homeland, Nigeria, to become part of the solution, I wholeheartedly chose the latter. Having firmly resolved to be a catalyst for change, I embarked on my journey in the field of development. In order to build a robust portfolio in this sphere, I engaged in voluntary work and for various charitable and humanitarian causes. This endeavor led me to the far reaches of northeast Nigeria, Maiduguri in Borno State to be precise, where I served as a volunteer on the platform of the Presidential Committee on Northeast Initiative, PCNI. Additionally, I actively participated in the 2019 campaign and general election of His Excellency, Governor of Kwara State, who, much like our esteemed President, possesses an unwavering eye for talent and faith in the potential of young people. My governor, impressed by the dedication and contributions I made during the campaign and election in 2019, he entrusted me with increased responsibilities by appointing me as Senior Special Assistant on Health and later as Senior Special Assistant on Sustainable Development Goals. He charged me further by appointing me as the State Focal Person for African Union Development Agency, NEPAD, and as State Focal Person for the National Human Capital Development Program, a pivotal component of the Economic Recovery and Growth Plan, ERGP, spanning from year 2017 to year 2020. I know that this is, I know that I have been fortunate to receive an excellent education. My parents were able to, through hard work and commitment, provide me with opportunities most young people in Nigeria cannot enjoy. However, Abraham Lincoln once said, "I do not know who my grandfather was. I am much more concerned to know what his grandson will be." So this is my mission and my pledge to you. I will work so that Nigerian youth will have opportunities to educate themselves, to develop themselves, and exploit their potential talents through acquiring entrepreneurship and leadership skills. I know that it is possible because I am not alone, and I am aware that I am fully cognizant of the gravity of responsibilities associated with this position, and I stand ready to discharge them with unwavering dedication, transparency, and accountability. If confirmed by this esteemed and most respected Senate, along with I aspire to bring this wealth of experience and expertise to bear on my new role, further contributing to the actualization of the renewed hope vision of Mr. President as it strongly concerns young people. Thank you greatly for your attention. Long live the Senate of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Long live the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. And long live the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
Distinguished colleagues and nominees, you will answer a few questions, if any, from my colleagues. Of course, definitely there are questions, and so be as brief as possible. Thank you for your resume. Yes. The leader.
Mr. President of the Senate, distinguished colleagues, let me start by congratulating the nominee, Dr. Mrs. Ibrahim Jamala Jumai, for being considered worthy for this position by the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, there are a lot of things that are very thrilling about this nominee. And that's why I decided to speak first. Coincidentally, she was born the year I graduated. And secondly, the primary school she attended in New Busa was the same primary school that my first son attended. Sir, we have to thank Mr. President for gradually bringing in youth of very quality background. People that were running away from Nigeria are being encouraged to stay in Nigeria and be part of the solution. This is very encouraging. We have seen a lot of women, not just women, women of quality materials, doctors, engineers, lawyers, fine. The academicians that are running away from politics are being brought in now. And this is a good sign for the prospects and progress of this country. In line of this, Mr. President, I don't have any question, and I don't think we should ask this nominee question, than to appreciate Mr. President and to congratulate her and wish her success as a representative of Nigerian youth since just 37. And reading through her CV, this is not the first appointment, maybe higher appointment. She has served in some other lower pedestals. If she didn't do well there, they would not consider her for higher posts. So I'm proposing that we allow her to take a bow honorably, to take a leave of the Senate in honor of Nigerian youth. I so submit.
Distinguished colleagues, I'm hearing the commendation from the minorities, former minorities, because the Senate is one, so there is no minority in the Senate. But hearing from the leaders on the other side of the aisle, commending Mr. President for inclusion of youths in governance and encouraging the very educated young Nigerians with brains to stay back. I doubt if my brothers on the other majority side of the aisle will have any objection to the proposition. In that case, I want to ask distinguished Senator Sadiq, as a father from Kwara State, to wrap it up.
Thank you, Mr. President. I am Sadiq Sulaiman Umar. I represent the good and decent people of Kwara North, and we who are. Mr. President, first we want to thank Mr. President for identifying our own as worthy out of millions of youth in this country. Competent youth, courageous and creative. Our own has been given the privilege to go and lead them in this ministry. Thank you very much, Mr. President. Let me just say that the nominee, you've heard her clearly. You've seen what she has to tell us, what she has been up to. Her CV is very, very clear, from primary school, secondary school to university. No commerce, no K, all is excellent, all true. Mr. President, I can assure you, the kingdom she came from, she's a daughter of Borgu Kingdom, which Jagaban, the president of Nigeria, is part of our kingdom. Our kingdom is a courageous, brilliant, hardworking kingdom made of people. This is one of our products. Be rest assured, she will go and make not just the Senate, but the Nigerian youth proud. So let us ask her to take a bow and go, and let's go and start our work immediately.
Distinguished Senator Sadiq, thank God that you did not spoil everything. Because while we are very excited to have youths in governance, you were about to go into too much of the resume and biodata. My dear nominee, it is a wish of the Senate that you just say a word on what you want to bring to bear, and then how you want to play a role and become a role model for other Nigerian youths. How you want to use this position as a minister of the Federal Republic of Nigeria to inspire other youths in Nigeria to know that, yes, there is hope for this country and that there is no need for them to take their talents elsewhere, to go and build other economies. And thereafter, you can take a bow.
Thank you very much, Mr. Senate President, sir.